Okay, what do you think of this idea? OpenAI Codex clone built by Claude Code for Claude Code and runs locally on your machine. Well, that's actually what I built in a weekend. What this application does is streamline the parallel agentic workflow that I mentioned in my last video. It's going to take you through the whole workflow of creating a plan, executing that plan, reviewing the changes, and then merging that change back into the main branch. And in this video, I want to share with you my process of planning, choosing my tech stack, prototyping very fast with Claude Code, and validating my idea whether it's actually useful or not. Here is an overly simplified example of how I use my application. It's called Claude Maestro, by the way, because, you know, it's a conductor of an orchestra of Claudes. So I'm queuing this up, I'm hitting the plan button. This is actually now talking with Claude Code CLI. It's going to come up with a plan to change my homepage title to purple. The nice thing with this tool is that you can queue up the planning phase as many planners you want, 100 if not thousands, if that's what you want. Once you have the plan, you can go into it, you can read the plan, you can go back and forth with it. If you want to provide feedback and regenerate, you can. Once the plan is done, like this one, you can now click how many instances of Claude Code do you want to spawn working on this same plan. So let's say I want 5 instances of Claude Code to be spawned. I hit execute, it's going to create 5 work trees, and each of those trees will have an instance of Claude Code working on this particular plan. Now 2 of them is done. We can actually hit this code button and it's going to open up the work tree in your IDE of choice. And then I can hit merge to dev. It's going to merge this particular work tree into dev, and then I'm good to go. Now I can just select all of these. I can archive it. Archive is going to clean up all the work trees so that all local directories that contain these work trees will be deleted. And that is the whole workflow. You're probably wondering, why did I build this? Why did I come up with this idea? What was my goal? I wanted to test and see how far can I get not writing a single line of code, just using Claude Code to do all the work. And I'm happy to say that 98% of this project was written by Claude Code. How I then structured my workflow was that I'll implement new features with Claude Code, and then I'll review them. And then at a point where, okay, all the features are working, I would go back, I will look through all the code, I will be like, okay, why is there duplicate like IDs here? What I'll do is I'll actually end up with a plan to refactor the code base to the way that it simplifies it down, cutting all the bloat, getting rid of a lot of code, and that process just repeats in a cycle where you just build features, a lot of code is getting written, and then once it's working, you slim it down. You just keep doing that. Let's take a step back and see where I actually started. Here I have my Notion page. This is really quick and dirty. I don't like spending too much time planning. At the very least, I need to know the finish line. So here, Claude Maestro filmed this whole process. I didn't film it. Maybe I'll just do a live stream in the next one. Global objectives orchestrate Claude Code instances to work on multiple tasks all at once, can open worktree in IDE, merge worktree. And then in the prototype validation criteria, this is how can I quickly prototype this prototype. And that's exactly the parallel agentic workflow that I went over in my previous video. I have a link down below in the description and also at the end of this video. As for tech stack, I keep this extremely simple. The reason for that is the more well-known a framework, the better output from the AI agents. That's why I chose Next.js and Electron. And if you take a look at my Next.js project, it's extremely simple, consists of a Next.js project, and inside the Next.js project, there's an Electron app in there. Everything is in one place in a mono repo. When I chat with Claude Code, I don't need to specify path to a separate directory. Moving down into my prototype task section, this is extremely messy. Basically, how I structure my task is I like to write out a lot of tasks and then identify which one can be worked in parallel. By doing that, I'm able to grab those parallel tasks and have Claude Code actually work on them at the same time while I'm working on something else. This is yet another reason why I built Claude Maestro. Instead of having to deal with multiple terminals and managing all of them, I know you can use tmux and whatever, but it's still a pain to like keep track of the status of where each Claude Code instance is at. I'm just going to show you an example of how I use Claude Maestro in my workflow with Claude Code. For example, I'm currently working on something, but I noticed that in multiple of these IPC handler file in my Electron process, the return from them are not deterministic. I just want it to be returning data and error. I'm going to write in here, analyze all the IPC handlers in Electron process meticulously. Notice that some return success, data, and errors. There's not really uniform returns for these IPC handlers. These functions should be returning data, error, object, and nothing else. All data payload should be inside the data object, and if there's an error, data should be null, and error will contain the error message. If the IPC operation is successful, the error object will be null. Think long and hard about what you need to do in order to refactor these IPC handlers, as well as making sure that all functionality remain as is. I'm going to hit plan. It's going to go ahead and start the planning process. While it's actually doing this, I can look at my task list and pick out some other tasks that I can run in parallel, or I can go back in my main windsurf session here and actually continue to code. Think of it like you're playing a game and there's a bunch of side quests you want to do, but you're on this main quest. However, you don't really have the time to like focus 100% on the side quest. You want to be focused on the main quest. What I do is I have Claude Maestro handle all my side quests. I get to do the main quest. Again, this tool isn't meant to replace Claude Code. It's a helper to manage multiple parallel instances of Claude Code. The nice thing with this is that I can queue up as many tasks as I want. Okay, so it's finally done with planning. You can see that this card is ready. Say I love this plan. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit update plan. And here is the fun part. I can actually specify up to 5 instances. I only did 5 for now because any more than 5, like, how many do you want to spawn? Like, I guess if you want to spawn 100 instances of Claude Code, you can. But I'm going to hit execute. Looks like the task that I queued up is complete. I would review all the changes, make sure that it's good, and see which one of these actually has the best result. Once I've chosen the work tree that I want to run with, I would then go in here and I will open another instance of Claude Code and start working through the changes. Once I'm happy with it, I commit the changes, and then I would click merge to main. As you can see, this workflow is extremely seamless. Now that you know my prototype workflow, you're probably wondering how I set up my parallel agentic workflow with Claude Code commands. I promise you that this video will allow you to build products in a weekend, just like what I did here with Claude Maestro. Let me know what you think of Claude Maestro down below in the comments. If you have any feedback, suggestions, anything, or even something about this video, how I can improve it, please let me know. If you enjoyed these Claude Code videos, hit that like and subscribe button. I will be making a lot more of them in the future. Otherwise, I will see you next Monday. Peace.